I'm focused on the spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr. And today I'm glad to report, which, this happened way earlier today. So I'm sure you all know a lot of these details and stuff that, I'll quickly go over because I think a lot of people know by now. And there's been a lot of podcasts before mine. The killer of Charlie Kirk has been caught. His father turned him in, and people keep saying things like, oh, that must have been so hard. It must have been so hard to know that your child did such a thing. But I would hope if you were a parent that would be a pretty easy call to make, to turn in your child if they assassinated someone in front of the world like that. And when people are like, oh, it must have been so hard, I'm like, I don't think that would be hard at all for that'll be like an immediate thing. They may, especially if they confess to them, I would think that parents might be shocked. Like if someone else told them, maybe there's some disbelief, but if I would think that would be a pretty easy call to make. So difficult because, oh my gosh, my child did this, or family member did this, or friend did this, or whatever. But I would think it would be pretty easy to do that. And by the way, they did not accept any reward money. And I don't know, it seems like they're a pretty good family. People are kind of mocking the fact that they seem to be like a normal, I assume maybe Republican family in Utah or whatever. Like Mark Lamont Hill said something along those lines. And they're trying to frame it as, well, he's from this normal right-wing sort of family. And I'm not even sure if those all details are true, but people are like, that makes it worse that you can be radicalized out there in the world and do something this terrible. But let me go ahead and show you, Mark Lamont Hill is going around and pushing that. And so they very desperately don't want this person to be a left wing. They don't want to pin that on them. So he said, so Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white cis Christian male from a Republican family. Wow. He was radicalized, sure, and apparently went against the values of his parents, which a lot of folks, it happens to a lot of people when they go off to college and get indoctrinated by their professors and stuff, which, by the way, people are pointing out, it's one thing we can have a discussion about how that person got radicalized. And I don't know if they'll do death penalty or whatever. I feel like it takes them way too long to kill people as far as capital punishment in this country. But I don't know if they'll seek that or what. But I think justice should be pretty swift there. Hopefully he can repent, get right with the Lord. But I do think that capital punishment is just. And I've made it a biblical argument and stuff for it before, and societal. I think the only thing is we I guess because appeals and other stuff like that, it's really expensive and takes a while for us to do it in this country. But he confessed, we know it was him, and let justice be done. But and it's funny because I was thinking how many people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death oppose the death penalty and wouldn't think that this person should be executed, and then support abortion. These people have some wild ethics, man. But you're not going to be able to pin this on, oh gosh, he's really right wing. He analyzing his ideology and how it came to be is one thing, but it's the reaction from so many people on the left that is just so jarring. I read Shoe on Head's statement about how she doesn't want to be on the left anymore, identify with folks on the left, because She just sees how ugly their hearts are. I'm not saying it's every Democrat or anything like that, or everyone who considers himself to be on the left, but it's insane. I on TikTok, and I have an account that's from my books and stuff. So it's a pretty small account. I was just trying to build it. But there are different book talkers, people who just talk about books all the time. There's huge drama after the November election because there are people like, if you voted for Trump, unfollow me, you're not welcome here. And so many people were like, we're just here to read books. Like, why are you making lists of people to like attack and get it to block? And like that's insane. Like, why can't we just get together and read books? But now there are different authors who are celebrating Charlie Kirk, being assassinated or making different comments, that some book talkers are like, okay, well, this is too much. Like, that you're actually celebrating someone being killed. And so if that's how you want to go, we don't want to be a part of it. My sister told me today that there is a lot of people being fired from their jobs for stuff that they said online about this. And there's different workers. There's people in academia who are justifying it. Teachers. Ron DeSantis was like, we are going to investigate teachers who have expressed that they're okay with this. And some folks are pushing back, trying to say, oh, I thought the right wasn't for cancel culture. I wasn't for, like, people, someone said like some kind of crude joke, or I don't know, maybe said the N-word in a chat when they were 16, and then everybody exposing them and pointing fingers saying like, you shouldn't be able to go to college anymore. That was bizarre. But glorifying someone being murdered is insane. And so whether someone wants to fire you for that kind of conduct is up to that employer. But I'm going to tell you, if it were me and I found out that you did such a thing, I wouldn't want you working at my company. I wouldn't want you to, because you do represent the company in some kind of way. And I wouldn't want my customers to feel that unwelcome. It's one thing if you do disagree about politics, but to know that you would celebrate their death. And it is, I don't know. I guess I understand that the world is just wicked, but it's just eye-opening to a degree. Like I'm not like really surprised, but it's just like, oh, I see how it is. Because people who are celebrating that Charlie Kirk died and have been saying this would say the same about me, probably the same about you, probably the same about my family, my friends. Because I'm seeing people celebrate Charlie Kirk being killed, or just being like, oh, rest in peace. That's what someone said on a comment of mine. And I'll read you the comment they left today. And they start listing off Charlie Kirk's views, and they're misquoting him. They don't even know why they hate him. They just want to hate him. When I was in Bible study on Wednesday, we were talking about rebuking, actually. that was like the topic, and correction and accountability. And when we were in open discussion, we were talking a little bit about like atheists and different stuff. And I started talking about how people will read the Bible and they'll mischaracterize it because they have a hardened heart, and they don't want God to be real, and they don't want him to be just and loving and all this stuff. And they will choose to read it and with the most uncharitable sort of viewing. So they don't have to submit. So they don't have to repent. So they can just go ahead and dismiss it instead of trying to understand and verify whether it's fact or fiction or whatever. They don't want it to be true. So they read it very harshly. And that's what's going on with Charlie Kirk. So many people are just kind of aware, like from the online space, people saying one thing and they're in their echo chamber, and they heard someone say it and they saw a meme or whatever, and they're repeating what's happened or what they believe, and they just decide that they don't like this person, they're not going to mourn him, or they're going to celebrate him, whatever, and they don't even really know. They certainly don't know him. I don't know him, not personally, but they don't know his positions. And I didn't watch. I've seen a lot of his like clip videos, like talking to different people on college campuses. I've seen like different interviews with Charlie Kirk, a podcast and whatnot. I don't think I've sat down and ever watched a full episode of his podcast show. I've seen some speeches like at like online of Turning Point events. I've never been to one. So I wouldn't. I'm aware of Charlie Kirk. I like a lot of stuff that he does, or sometimes I'm like, I want to word stuff that way, or I disagree, or like, or I would like to debate. I have a video that I didn't post, but I sure did record, like refuting something that Charlie Kirk, his position on abolition or whatever. I never posted it, but I did make one. I have disagreements with him. Like, we're not 100% or whatever. And there's nobody just gonna be 100% with. But so I'm not like a super fan or anything like that. Like, you guys might watch a lot more Charlie Kirk than I do, but I know that these people are lying about him. It's not just people online, Reddit and TikTok and stuff. It's the mainstream media. Like, there was a terrible correction that had to be issued by the New York Times, I believe it was, about something that he said regarding anti-Semitism. But Charlie Kirk was like actually refuting the anti-Semitic remarks. So this is the correction. A correction was made on September 11th, 2025. An earlier version of this article described incorrectly an anti-Semitic statement that Charlie Kirk made on an episode of his podcast. He was quoting a statement from a post on social media and went on to critique it. It was not his own statement. So he was quoting someone else and then critiquing anti-Semitic views. Now, Charlie Kirk is very pro-Israel. Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, got on TV and was like, he just sent me a letter. He was such a good friend to Israel. He was blah, blah, blah. And they wanted to make this article in the New York Times, which has been trash and continues to be trash, about where Charlie Kirk stood on key political issues. And they had the audacity to imply that he was anti-Semitic when these morons, it just doesn't seem like it's an accident. How can people get so much stuff wrong all the time? All the time when you're professional. And this is serious. He was just assassinated for his political views. And someone said, we accuse someone who was just murdered and consistently stood up against anti-Semitism of being anti-Semitic based on a complete lie, but no big deal because we added a small note a day later. The lack of standards or consequences are infuriating. It should be infuriating. So I keep kind of wondering, I'm like, what would happen if it were me, or if it were you, or if it was somebody that was conservative and had Charlie Kirk, what I consider pretty mainstream views on the topic, on different topics, and you died, you were murdered rather. What would people say about you? What would they print about you? Because they wouldn't represent you fairly. They would chop up stuff. I mean, I saw people do it to Rush Limbaugh when he passed away. And people are like, oh, he's a racist. I'm like, why? And I asked somebody, I'm like, okay, why do you think Bo Snerdley's around all the time if you think that he's racist? Like, who's Bo Snerdley? I'm like, if you're talking about Rush Limbaugh and you don't know who Bo is, I think you need to check out, because you don't know enough about this person and this conversation to contribute. If you don't even at least know Bo, who's with them forever, you don't know anything about the man. Just check out. You don't have to bash someone because someone online doesn't like him and you read it and you decided that you don't like him either and you want to trash him when he dies. You can just say nothing. You can just say nothing. That is always an option. Always an option. But the New York Times, they also did something else that was insane. They also did something else. So yesterday morning, and we talked about it on the show, Steven Crowder released a memo at like 8:35, something like that, that was leaked to him by someone at the ATF about the firearm and different inscriptions that were on the stuff that they recovered. And it had like anti-fascist sort of ideology and also like transgender ideology and stuff. And so the Wall Street Journal confirmed that, because I saw that on Crowder. I'm like, well, he was right about the manifest, like the Nashville shooter. But man, I really, in my mind, I'm just like, I really, really don't want to contribute to false information and continue the divide. Like, I want to be really responsible with my reporting. I know it's going to be all over the place, but at least what comes from my platform, I want to do my best to report things accurately. And so I saw it reported in the Wall Street Journal, and they confirmed like, okay, law enforcement did say these things about it. And then there was a press conference that was also telling other details about like the firearms, where they found them and stuff, that confirmed things in Steven Crowder's memo. And so I went ahead and posted that, and also posted like CNN saying the casings and stuff had inscriptions of cultural issues, but they didn't want to say that they're trans or anti-fascist stuff. And so we mocked them for it and stuff. So then I saw people online saying, oh, it was a hoax. It was hoax. It was a hoax. And I'm like, I'm not seeing anything that says it was a hoax. And so then I'm like, I don't see anything. And so I guess the Wall Street Journal, they didn't retract it, but they're just like added something like, well, journalists say to be cautious or something. Like it was like in the news. And so I was, I think it was maybe around 10 or 11 or something like that. I decided to just take it down, and I made a post and I said, some people are saying like be cautious or whatever. So I just took the memo down. A lot of the details were confirmed, but it's still available on Steven Crowder's like X if you want to go read it. But I'm just for right now, I want to be cautious. So I went ahead and took it down. I could have just kept it up because apparently I guess people were saying to be cautious, and oh, it was a hoax and it wasn't true, because the New York Times was reporting that they had someone from the inside who claimed that wasn't the case, or people, were exaggerating or something along the lines of that. And they were wrong. Steven Crowder's reporting was accurate. The Wall Street Journal's reporting was accurate. There was actually like lines. Let me pull them up. It was like one of them was fast. It was like fascist catch, like comma catch. Like catch the bullet, I suppose. Some people were trying to say it's from a video game. I heard that is not true. So there was notices bulge, OWO, what's this? And so I guess that's a meme from like furry culture, like internet slang kind of stuff. And the bulge is where people are getting like, I think it's suggestive, like there's a penis there, under there, or I think it could be like double meaning of like, is that a gun in your pants? Are you happy to see me kind of thing? Because firearm kind of stuff. I wouldn't have known what the OWO is, like a cute face sort of thing. The investigators were probably like, what is this? And then there's a line, hey, fascist, catch. And then there's a, oh, Bella, ciao, 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 ciao. That was a line from an Italian anti-fascist folk song. And if you read this, you're gay. And that's just like being a silly troll kind of stuff. So, thank you, Ginger. Thank you, Ginger, for subscribing. So there were actually those things written on the casings, and people are literally still trying to be like, oh, well, he was raised by Republicans. Okay, people go to school and they're indoctrinated all the time. There was a story a couple years ago about some clubs that teachers were leading. They were like LGBT clubs, and they were teaching they were saying that they were teaching other teachers how to have them, even in secret from the parents, and how to get around letting the parents know, and how to recruit kids, and to do them even in red states. And Abigail Schreier had covered it. I covered it, especially like her reporting and stuff on it. But there was like teachers who were like changing like different medical stuff information for different students, and just keeping all kinds of different things from the parents, which is infuriating. And like, I don't have kids yet, but man, that pushes my buttons when people just feel they just have the audacity to overstep boundaries between like the parent and child. That just I know adults can't fight like that, but in society, but that it's just enraging when you hear about that kind of stuff. So whether you have kids and you raise them and stuff or not, there's still going to be people who want to indoctrinate your children all the time. And some of these people who are celebrating that Charlie Kirk was killed, and they're saying that speech is violence, and violence is the only way to overcome the oppressor, and they view not just Charlie, but like white people, white men or whatever, as oppressors and so on, part of the system. So they'll basically not see them as humans worth mourning, and dehumanize them. And so something happens, they'll celebrate it or whatever, say that it's justified. There are people like in academia who are pushing this sort of ideology. So you send your nice, Republican Christian person off to college, and they get indoctrinated. There was years ago, my dad, he was giving a presentation about how there were some professors and stuff who believed in, I don't even think it was professor, but they were like advocating that their job when children go to college is to separate children from their Christian ideology that they were raised in, and to make it so that they were so disgusted with like Christianity that it was so beneath them that it's not even like worth debating about or arguing about. Like, oh, that's a silly thing that my parents believe, to just have this complete snooty bigotry toward it. And that was, I was still a kid. I mean, like maybe middle school, maybe younger. So there's been this attitude for a long time. My sister said, you didn't know about the owl face. Not the first thing that came to mind. No. A gender said they've had to use Urban Dictionary a lot. Yeah, I didn't really know about that face. So Steven Crowder also got another exclusive. He got information. I haven't had time to look at it, but also got a scoop from the Utah County Sheriff's Office internal documents regarding Tyler Robinson, who's the assassin. So Steven Crowder, he's been on it. I don't know exactly how he got all these leads and stuff, but he scooped a lot of people, and he was correct in his reporting and staked a lot on it, because that would have been a crazy thing to be wrong about. So, if anyone thinks, oh, Christina flaked out when she deleted it, I just again wanted to be, it's when there's any kind of shooting story and we're waiting for details and stuff was coming out and it's being investigated and there's breaking news and there's like updates, by the minute, it's hard to get things 100% inaccurate and stuff. And I'm a one person, and I'm not like boots on the ground with a lot of the stuff. I have some sources that know some stuff and, some ties, but I'm just trying to do my best. And again, I don't want to negatively spread vitriol or outrage and false things into the society, and contribute to this disgusting culture of villainy, that people are using to hurt people. So I just really wanted to be careful. And so I'm glad that Stephen was right in the sense that his reporting was accurate. It's sad anyway around when this stuff happens. Let me read to you guys this not tweet, but this comment that I had mentioned. So I did a video earlier yesterday I mentioned that one of the reasons why people were justifying Charlie Kirk being murdered is because he was against Juneteenth. And so I'm not gonna like revisit all the argument about the Juneteenth stuff I talked about yesterday, but um Charlie Kirk's reasons for not liking Juneteenth aren't crazy. He may have said some like comments that seem aggressive or whatever, but I don't really think that it should be like a national holiday because people celebrate it as like the day slavery ended, and that's just not accurate. So I think we are spreading kind of ignorance in the pursuit of having, I don't know, another summer holiday. So um that's just not a good reason to be glad someone died. So on that video, someone posted something. Let me pull up the comment. So this guy's named Jordan. He said he also thought Civil Rights Act was a mistake and he'd make his 10-year-old have a baby if she was raped. He thought George Floyd's killer should be pardoned, that people that died to gun violence are just statistics, that sympathy was a made-up word. So I have no sympathy, and he's now stat, like I guess a statistic. He can rest in piss. That's the comment that someone left on my video. So he made a little list. So the first thing that I commented to him pretty fast, and he didn't respond. So when I had a moment, because I saw it like I think when I was coming home, and I went to I went around walking today in the morning. So I took shower and then got ready, and so I did a quick video before I jumped on here. So I said, okay, since you are upset about Charlie Kirk's opinions enough to want him to rest in peace, you should be able to steel man his arguments. That means you're going to represent them to the best of your ability, and then I would like to give you space in the comments to actually write out his arguments and then refute them. I give you space to do that in my comments. So people, when they hear you might not like the Civil Rights Act, they might accuse you of being racist. There's a libertarian argument to be against the Civil Rights Act. So I'm like, since you dislike Charlie Kirk's opinion on it so much, go ahead and steel man what is his position in the comments and then refute it. Go ahead and do that. And so the next thing I addressed is that this thing about that he would make a 10-year-old have a baby if she was raped. So he had a discussion on Jubilee. I did watch that episode. And that is going viral. He was talking to a bunch of crazy people. The funny thing about Charlie Kirk and the abortion stuff, he's a decent debater at it. He's not top tier or anything. Like Trent Horn is really good. He's one of the best that I've seen debate the topic. I'm trying to think if any like debaters that really go out there, would I put anyone really above Charlie Kirk? I'm not Charlie Kirk, but Trent Horn is really good. I don't agree with Trent on everything because I do believe in like criminalization and stuff, but his debate with Destiny on whatever podcast was very interesting. Though Destiny has said some horrific things, man. Okay, so would he make his 10-year-old have the baby if she was raped? I have not rewatched the clip, so I cannot quote Charlie Kirk word for word. But let me just put it this way. One, I'm weirded out by all these folks always jumping to, what if your child was like, please stop fantasizing graphic sexual violence against minors so you can defend women having abortions anytime, any place, anywhere, because that's what you really want. So you do not have to go to this place. Now, I know, like as Ben Shapiro pointed out on the Breakfast Club, people want to do this example because they want to basically push pro-lifers in a corner and be like, oh my gosh, you're so disgusting. You're so disgusting. Okay, for people who think it's so disgusting, my question is, why do you think it's so disgusting for a grandfather to not want to force his child to kill his grandchild. Let's put it that way. Or let me get more specific, okay? Kathy Barnett. You guys may remember Kathy Barnett. She ran for Senate in Pennsylvania in the primary. Not this past race, but the race before. And it was when Dr. Oz ran. Was that the last Senate race in Pennsylvania? I don't know. Do they have another race? Because McCormick got in, right? And McCormick ran before too. So it was McCormick and Oz, and that was the one where Fetterman ended up winning. So she had surged at one point, I think, after the debate a bit, but she was conceived from rape. And there's a beautiful story that Live Action put together of her life and her mom and their experience. And her mom said it wasn't a choice, it was a baby. And once, she was pregnant, her mom was like, I'm going to help you get through it. It's a horrific thing. You don't want anyone to go through it at any age. And when you're very little like that, you have to have a serious conversation on the health of the mother and whether she's capable of doing that. But if it's the case that both can live, explain to me why it is so offensive that both would live in that situation. Because you can say, well, that's very tough on the body. Pregnancy is very tough on it is, but abortion is no cakewalk. And we're talking about an induced abortion. So we're talking about something that's very also unnatural. I know there are women who have died having abortions. And I'm talking about recently, Amber Thurman died from a complication from an abortion, though they tried to blame pro-life laws. And she and her twins were killed because she murdered them and there was a complication after they have the abortion pill and stuff. So it's not like there's no dangers in having an abortion. And it could be just very painful. Have you heard women talk about their experience of actually having an abortion, with the pill, and or maybe they're more likely to do the surgery? But that's a natural thing for the body too. And not necessarily an easy thing for someone to go through. You can't stop, though, her from having birth, because birth is just leaving the womb. Birth is just leaving the womb. So either you're going to have a live child leave the womb or they're going to be dead. So when you are so disgusted, and some people want them to die. We're not even talking about choice. Like, hey, baby, this is going to be really hard, but this is a human living being. If you want to go through with this, I will be with you every step of the way and help you raise your child. This is a human being. Would you like to go through with that? If you even gave the child a choice, I asked people during the midterm when abortion was on our ballot, hey, okay, if the child who was raped wanted to keep their baby, would you be okay with the parent letting them keep their baby? And they're like, no. So there are people who want that child to die. It's not about even that mother's choice. But why are people so offended by life? Because you are saying that Kathy Barnett does not deserve to live, that she should have been murdered, that people like her shouldn't be protected from violence. And there are real people walking around who were conceived in rape, who are human beings made in the image of God. Rape is a terrible thing. Obviously, you don't want anyone to go through that, and you definitely don't want anyone to be impregnated in such a horrific way. But murder is not the answer. It does not turn back time. It does not turn back time. So Charlie Kirk deserves to die because he wouldn't kill a baby. Do you know how crazy that sounds? Charlie Kirk deserved to die because he wouldn't want to kill his grandchild, because he would help his daughter survive that horrific outcome and then not force her to murder her baby. He deserved to die. And again, if he deserved to die for that, I guess you think that about me too. So I responded to that. The next part, he thought George Floyd's killer should be pardoned. I followed that case. I watched like the full, I didn't watch the full trial. I thought his lawyer, Derek Chauvin, was really giving it his all. I thought that he was going to be acquitted, to be frank. Now, when like the jury deliberated so quickly, people were like, nah, that's going to be guilty. So if you believe that he should have gotten off and that he didn't really get a fair trial because it was so politicized. I mean, the whole country was so inflamed and people were ready to like burn the city down with the wrong result, right? If you believe that based on the facts, why does that make you a bad person? You can be wrong. You can be wrong and not evil. You can be wrong and not deserve to be murdered. So I said to this person, like, if you know Charlie's argument about the case, go ahead and still man it, put in the comments, and then refute it. But even if Charlie Kirk was wrong on the details, it still doesn't mean that he deserves to die. It just seems so strange for, I don't know, people to go so hard for George Floyd, I guess. It was terrible watching that video and the whole thing, especially if you watch the long one and when he like, you hear him ask to be put on the ground knowing what's going to happen. Heartbreaking. But Charlie Kirk doesn't deserve to die for his opinion on that. You'd want a lot of people to die then. The people that die to gun violence, this is what he believes that Charlie Kirk said. He believes that Charlie Kirk said the people that die to gun violence are just statistics. Charlie Kirk never said that. Charlie Kirk believes that we are all made in the image of God. They're all precious and deserving of life. We are not just statistics. That's insane. That's not his view. I know what he's probably referring to because a lot of people are talking about something that Charlie Kirk said where, if I could summarize, that even knowing that there will be gun deaths every year, that it is still worth it to have the Second Amendment. And people are like, oh my gosh, he's saying it's worth it. And now he's one of those statistics. He's not saying that it's good that people die. He's just saying it is still worth it to have the Second Amendment. Just like people are going to die in car crashes every year. Even knowing that it's worth it to have cars. Many people like to drink. I don't do the drugs and the alcohol stuff. But despite how many people might drink themselves to death, commit acts of crime while they're on the bottle, be abusive husbands or whatever, drunk driving, all those things, even though people will abuse it and will lead to death and horror, people still believe that they should be able to drink. People believe they should be able to do drugs. It's risk versus reward. It's a cost analysis. We do it all the time with all kinds of different stuff. But the Second Amendment is still worth having, yes. And I already said this, if an angel came to Charlie and was like, you can have the Second Amendment or you can live past 31. I think he'd still say, okay, well, we still need the Second Amendment at the end of the day, because if something happens, I want my children to be protected and be able to fight for their liberties. So he doesn't even really know what Charlie Kirk said, and is certainly not representing it correctly. But then this next line is crazy. They said that sympathy was a made up word. So now I have no sympathy, and he's now a stat. He can rest in peace. That's not what he said. He's referring to a line that Charlie Kirk said when he said he doesn't like the word empathy, and he prefers the word sympathy. He thinks empathy is like more of a political word, and he'd rather sympathize with people. And the difference between empathy is like, I feel what you feel, and you can't really feel what people feel, but sympathy is I understand how you feel, and he prefers sympathy. So he didn't even get the quote anywhere accurate. And now he's saying he has no sympathy for him. Again, you cannot care about Charlie Kirk. I would just prefer if people didn't say anything, if they didn't care about this, because just virtue signaling laying people, I don't care. Okay, well, you do care. You do care. When I don't care, when I'm done, I'm done. I'm done. We ain't got to talk about it. I got to talk about you. I ain't got to think about it. If I don't care, I never want to comment like, I don't care, because then you signal that you do. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. If people say, I don't care what you say, then why are you here? Thank you for the comment. Thank you for the view. You're helping with my algorithm. I'm going to get a little check on the 15th. Thank you. If you don't care, then don't care. Be gone. Be silent elsewhere. But you do. You hate this person enough to say rest in piss, and you don't even understand where he stands. So again, I'll ask the question: if it were you, something happened to you, someone killed you for political reasons, how would people misrepresent what you were saying? How unfairly would people treat you? And they do this to justify what happened to him. They do it to this is someone who talked to people for a living, had civil discussions. Charlie Kirk was not rude. And even sometimes when the crowd got like all cheering and rowdy and stuff, he'd be like, okay, guys. So they could hear and have a civil debate. So Millie said, if Charlie knew how many people are turning to Jesus because of his death, I'm sure he does. No, but it's huge. Yeah, at least there is that. At least there is that. And that blesses my heart. That blesses my soul. And it's not just that either. There are people who are online and they're like, I have a platform. I'm sorry, I've never said it before, but I want people to know I am a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. And so there are people who are proudly testifying who weren't doing that before. So if people were, I don't know, concerned, if people were going to be really afraid to speak out and say stuff and stand up for what they believe and talk about their values, I think it's going to have the opposite effect. So, I don't know what's going to happen with like outside events anymore, because it's going to be, I don't know, expensive to secure them and things like that. And you can't like look at everything, especially if it's just like a college speaker or something, So I think in a lot of cases, a lot of outdoor stuff, especially maybe on the right, I don't know, but people might still go ahead and try it. Outdoor events, but I think a lot of things will be indoor. I think people still keep giving talks. Someone tried to say that Ben Shapiro canceled all future like dates or whatever for college stops. That's not true. He had some book tour events that were canceled after this, but he's still going to go speak on college campuses. People will still have Turning Point USA events, and I don't know how. I don't know the structure of their organization too detailed to know. They were still doing the Charlie Kirk show. His chair was just empty, but they're still going on. I don't know how long they'll keep the name the same or whatever, but I'm glad that so many people are inspired. And again, I already said like at the top of the hour, we can have conversations about the ideology of this person. I think that's important to talk about how he might have been radicalized with the online culture or whatever, or college and whatnot. Because they did say in the press conference that people were saying that he got more radicalized. I can play that clip. But what is more alarming is the fact that people are celebrating this. It's more alarming that people are celebrating this stuff and justifying it. That's what's alarming to people. So it is still very much a left problem. And I also want to point out, I'm seeing politicians saying, oh, we can't point fingers, we got to come together and we got to be unified. I don't want to hear Democrats talking about we got to unify now, because they said that same stuff after Steve Scalise, but their rhetoric never changed. The rhetoric never changed. People say, oh, Bernie Sanders, he did a really nice message. I don't care what that old man has to say. I don't care what they have to say unless they are going to say to their followers, to their constituents, hey, you know what? We lied. We lied all the time to trick you guys into voting for us. Donald Trump, you know, we keep saying things like threat to democracy. Democracy actually chose him, and we have to be civically engaged and just vote our way next time. But as far as, trying to pretend like everybody who votes for him is a fascist or racist or sexist or all this different stuff, no, it's not true. As a matter of fact, we don't actually know the definition of fascism. We're just using these words and it's not true. We told this lie. We told that lie. We told this lie. Harry Reid lied about Mitt Romney, saying that he didn't pay taxes. And then after the election, it obviously wasn't true, but it did hurt him. And then they asked him hey, you lied about this. Do you feel bad? He's like, no, because he lost and we won. So they lie all the time. I don't know how this will change Donald Trump. There were some things about him that mellowed or changed. I think after he was assassinated, there was an assassination attempt. I'm sorry. But I don't know how much more this will mature him or whatever. I think there are definitely other politicians who could unify in a way that people won't even let. I'm not sure if he can, but people won't let him, to be frank. But the lies that they told about him in 2020, in 2024, in 2016 were just insane. And people continue to tell lies, but the blatant lies from the Biden HQ, which turned into the Kamala Harris HQ, were just off the charts. And I kept saying to people, if you want to know who you should vote for, because I was TO'd at Trump about different policies. So I wasn't rah, rah, rah. But I'm if you want to know who to vote for, just look how they talk about each other. Donald Trump can literally just tell the truth about Kamala Harris. And it hurts her. Kamala Harris has to lie on Donald Trump. So see, if he was as bad as they say, then they could just be honest about him. And the funny thing is, there's so many things you could point to and be like, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. But they had to make up crap about him all the time. So, let me try to find this clip that I saved. Shuan had said something else today. I played you guys a clip of. I didn't play. I read something she wrote. I'll find the clip of from the press conference in a second, but I do want to read what Shuan had wrote. This is the person from yesterday I talked about who said she has left-wing politics on the economy and all kinds of different stuff. It was basically like a Bernie bro or gal or whatever, but she doesn't want to identify on the left anymore because the people are just kind of sick. And so Someone said one guy acted alone and they want to go to war. It's like they just were looking for any reason. And she responded, one guy acted alone. Then we saw the reaction of millions, some posting with their full names and faces. That's what's really insane, too. That people are so bold to do that. I think that speaks to people just being so deranged. Teachers, childcare workers, healthcare workers, HR professionals, game HR professionals is insane. Game developers, hundreds of thousands of people that walk amongst every day who live next door to us. People I thought were friends, people I thought were normal people celebrating the gruesome public execution of a father shot in the bleeping throat in front of his young children, celebrating because he politically does not agree with them. We saw their real beliefs when the "in this house we believe" bleep lib mask was ripped off. Psychopathic freaks. And that is what we need to talk about, how our society is so broken. I want the Democrats to sit down in front of the camera, address the nation, and say, we apologize for lying continuously about our political opponents, pretending everyone we don't like is Hitler or fascist or whatever. And pretending like if you voted for Trump, then that wasn't legitimate. Do you guys remember Biden's speech? Like when he was, there's a backdrop and it was all like in red and looking demonic or whatever. And he's like making the angry hands and face, talking about MAGA Republicans. And they're like, there's certain kind of Republicans, but then there's MAGA Republicans. And then they explain it. And I'm like, that just sounds like normal Republican stuff that I believe. Like there's some extreme MAGA people, I think, that are just so tribal and don't really have a lot of ethics and just kind of jump around with what Trump says. There's definitely people like that out there. But just like my positions on abortion, like those people are so extreme. And sometimes there are people who identify as Christian nationalists and they'll explain what they believe and they want to basically create some people want to create a theocracy or whatever and stuff like that. But there was an article some years back when they started to describe like Christian nationalists. And I'm like, this just sounds like normal Christians who vote red. Like you're just attacking normal people and pretending like they're extreme. Charlie Kirk was not extreme. He was not. He was not. Yet they celebrated his death. And then they pretend like his views are so abhorrent. Again, like the 10-year-old thing. Okay, why do you hate someone because they didn't want to kill a baby? Why do you hate someone because they didn't want to kill a baby? Like, so someone pointed this out today. Oh, the right really needs to lower their temperature. This is the sort of stuff that they make about Donald Trump. This is the sort of stuff as they radicalize their base and continue to do it. Bernie Sanders, very nice of you to have your tour, but didn't you just, to have your video, but didn't you go around with AOC having your oligarchy tour? Like, miss me with that. No, bro. So anyway, the shooter was increasingly getting radical in his rhetoric, according to the press conference today.
Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. Investigators.
Okay, so, Charlie Kirk, he's hateful. He's full of hate. Do you know how many times people have told me that I'm hateful for saying that a man cannot be a woman? Do you know how many times people have said that about me? Or how hateful that I am because I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. Do you, they don't just hate Charlie Kirk. It's not just him. It's not just him. So I saw a video from this guy Praxpin. He had like a ton of followers, like 1 million followers, but I think he got actually I don't know if he got up to 1 million, but he had a lot of followers, and I know his account has been banned. I don't know how many times it's been banned, but I saw one of his videos today, and he said that he got a couple people fired. I'm gonna let me I want to play it. I know I liked it, so bear with me for a second. It's got 30,000 views. He said Howie win. So I'm gonna tweet it, and then I'm gonna share my screen so you guys can see his video, because there are people getting fired, and I already said if it were me and I had an employee and I found out that they were celebrating someone getting assassinated, shot in the neck in front of all these hundreds and thousands of people or whatever, and if his family's there and now they don't have a father, and his wife is a widow, and people are celebrating that, and you have the audacity to do that with your face and your name being public, and you're just doing it on social media. You surrendered this information to everyone to know how awful you are, and you did it 10 toes down with your full chest. There's no way I would want you working for me. I would not want my customers to feel like they, I don't know, maybe weren't safe, or that someone hates them that much. Like, the reason why, let me table that. Let me play the video I was going to show you guys, and then I'll continue my thought.
In the past 2 days, I've gotten several people fired from their jobs and expelled from their schools because they celebrated and condoned the murder of Charlie Kirk. There's nothing immoral about what I'm doing. In fact, it's my moral obligation. This is righteous justice. But there's people attacking me over it, including people on the right. They're saying, cancel culture, you can't engage in cancel culture. Yes, I can. The reason cancel culture was so bad in the past is because it was petty cancel culture used against us. It was used against people like us for little things like edgy jokes or a drunken slur. Right now, we are dealing with millions of people who are celebrating the murder of many people's hero, the murder of a family man, a husband and a father. And this isn't the first time they've done it either. They celebrated Luigi Mangione when he killed Brian Thompson. They celebrated because he was a CEO. They said, oh, he's just a CEO. We wouldn't celebrate like this if it was a regular guy, like Charlie Kirk, a guy who was just debating people. But they did it anyways. This is getting ridiculous. We just can't be around these people anymore. We can't be around them. They're sick. There's something wrong with them. They're not even acting human. And you know what? We can't use violence against them either, because we actually believe in the sanctity of life and objective morality. We actually have principles, so we can't do that. But what we can do is use their own tool that they showed us how to use, cancel culture. And really, you're not even doing much. All you're doing is giving them more of a voice. You're just showing people what they actually believe and what they have said. If they don't want this to happen, maybe they shouldn't say it in the first place. One of the foundations of a civilized society is the ability for us to separate ourselves from these people. I don't want these people being my coworkers, my employees, my employers, my classmates. I want to be away from them. And the way to get them away from me is just to show people what they actually believe. It's that simple. All I have to do is show people what they believe, and there you go. Problem solved. I don't want them around me, because the more they're around me, the more likely they are to kill me. The more likely they are to end my life and end the lives of my friends and family. This is a way to reduce violence and reduce conflict. This is moral. This is justice. We have to do this. We can still debate. I'm all for that. I love debating people, actually. But let's debate the reasonable people. The freaks, you guys, you stay away from us.
So, that's his opinion. So, do you really want someone who's deranged enough to celebrate Charlie Kirk being assassinated to teach your kids at school? Do you really want them to teach your kids? I wouldn't. I'm just going to be for real with you. I would not. I've already got like severe trust issues with the public school system. I graduated from a fine like public school and stuff, but I just assume that it's gotten so much worse since the time I was in high school or whatever. And I really didn't want my nieces and nephews to go to school. I was like, no, you can homeschool them, please. I wouldn't want someone like that teaching my kids. I wouldn't want someone like that to be my therapist or to see my, kids in therapy or whatever, or it, it would make me uncomfortable. Maybe they can be a barista, but wouldn't you be kind of afraid that if you came in with a MAGA hat that they'd spit in it? Like, if they're that deranged, I'm not saying you can't be a Democrat, you can't believe what you believe, but we're talking about the celebration of someone being murdered and people being proud to do it online. That's another thing. Like, it's not like it's a secret group chat. It's people going on their TikTok saying, don't snitch on him. The people don't snitch on him. Don't snitch on the killer. You have the audacity to say that and think that there would be no consequences for that, no social consequences for that. That's crazy. Now, sometimes you need consequences for actions just so people understand what they did was extreme, what they did was bad. The fact that so many people think that it's okay to go online and say all this stuff is also a problem. It's bad that they think it, but it's next level that they think that they can do it and it's just normal. So sometimes you have to be shocked into reality and be like, oh my gosh, that was extreme. And sometimes when generally, when you have to face some kind of consequence, then people can have some reflection and perhaps even be remorseful when they have time to reflect in the consequence. So I don't know what you can do about folks being around you, like as extreme what he's saying, but I just know if it was me and I was employing people, I would not want them there. And I was amazed by people who were commenting on my video about Meyer. I did a big article about it, but just to for those of you who don't know, there was a viral story about Meyer firing someone, and they fired them last year. People were saying he was an autistic 16-year-old who was just stealing food out of the garbage because he's so hungry. Now, he was an employee. He was 19 years old, which you can learn about just watching the body cam. No evidence has been presented that he's autistic. He was stealing food from off the sales floor for months. Myers did an investigation once they found out he was stealing, which took less than a week. And then they called the police and he was fired, let go. He walked away with the police or whatever, got in the car, and the cops were just like really, really cool with him. And we're like, oh, it's going to be a zero bond. And you're likely to just have to, pay back do restitution or whatever. So it didn't ruin his life or anything like that. But I'm like, Myers did the right thing. And people were so mad that I was correcting misinformation that went super viral. And they're like, no, we want to boycott Meyer. I'm like, Meyer is my store that I go to grocery shop. Why would I want Meyer destroyed? Why would I want people to lose jobs over something that they did that was correct? And like, it was just food. I'm like, he works at a grocery store. What else would he steal? Unless he was stealing money out the register, but he didn't work at the registers. He worked at the deli. I'm like, it's not cool to steal from your employer. It's immoral. What he did was immoral. And I'm just like, all these people who are commenting that it was okay and they're justifying this theft, just proud to do it online. Just proud. I think someone should just kind of take note of all these people and be like, okay, these people are unemployable. You shouldn't hire people who think it's okay to steal from their employer. Hello? And it's really insane to me that so many people were standing 10 toes down on the issue. That was bizarre. We live in a crazy world. We live in a crazy world. These people who celebrated Luigi Mangione killing Brian Thompson, I wouldn't have wanted those people working for me either. This is going back before. They hate people for not wanting to kill babies because it makes them look bad if they choose to kill their babies. Yeah, like I can understand if you genuinely don't think that they're human or view them as human, but that's just a really, really ignorant position to have. It's just not true. It's just not true. So I have seen some of the reaction videos of people saying that they're like, oh my gosh, I got fired, and they're amazed, like, oh my gosh, wow, that happened. I swear I bookmarked some of them, but I'm like, please, more of these. There needs to be some consequences to these crazy actions. There was a video that I showed you guys some time ago. I guess it was around 4th of July because it was after 4th of July or on 4th of July that someone recorded this. But it was a left-wing young woman. She lived with her parents and they had friends over who voted for Trump. They're longtime friends. It's 4th of July. They're breaking bread together outside, chilling. And she has a bullhorn. And she's just speaking down to the people like, my parents have invited these Trump supporters over the house. They are complicit with fascism, and saying all this kinds of different stuff, embarrassing their parents in front of the longtime friends. And they're like, they have threatened me that I'll have to get a job or something. It was like the most liberal kind of parody skit thing you could probably think of happening in real life. And she had so many people who were supporting her in the comments saying, yeah, we can't be civil with these people, blah, blah, blah. And it's those kinds of people who defend this echo chamber. No, we can't get along. Even if we disagree, we got to always stand up and revolt and just being increasingly unhinged. That will lead to people like him doing crazy things like what he did. I'm not saying all people who are like really, really politically involved and intolerant will end up wanting to murder you, but not just wanting to, but willing to do that. But it's just not a good sign. These people are unwell. Many Democrats have continued to contribute to it. And it's not just Democrats. There's people on the right who contribute to this sort of culture too. But it is largely a left-wing problem. And it's so funny because they try to make it seem like it's a right-wing thing. CNN did something some time ago talking about how right-wing, pretending like was mostly like an issue on the right, and then left-wing like stuff happens is rare. Well, it doesn't seem so rare, guys. It doesn't seem so rare. I am glad that this person was caught. The family turned him in. People are questioning the FBI and whether Kash Patel, can competently lead like big investigations, stuff like this, if he's like kind of the right man for the job. We'll see how they assess stuff, but they were getting information out. I don't know how much they were zeroing in on him or whatever, but thank God that someone turned him in, and let justice be done. Continue to pray for Charlie Kirk and his family. I'm sure he would be glad at so many people who are, standing up for their faith and proclaiming their faith. And I saw South Park decided to pull their episode with Charlie Kirk. I don't think Charlie Kirk would want that. I think it was kind of flattering to him that he was so part of the culture that South Park did an episode mocking him. And the fact that he was into the joke and laughed along with them made liberals so mad. They wanted him to be embarrassed and just like crying and crying, but he thought it was funny. So I understand they want to be respectful after what happened, but you can just go ahead and I think they can put it up. It was nice of them to consider that, I guess, and take it down, but they don't have to do that. I'm just trying to see before I let you guys go for the weekend. Is there anything else I want to say? It does kind of seem like Candace Owens is gearing up to blame the Jews. I don't know if she's going to go full blame the Jews about Charlie Kirk. Because they were friends. But she had been saying really nut stuff for a long time. And she said something about Bibi Netanyahu saying stuff about Charlie Kirk, and Charlie had wrote him a letter. She's like, "You're not explaining the full letter." And I'm like, how do you know what the full letter says? Her and Laura Loomer are going back and forth a bit. There's some different tweets to look at. I think maybe I'll make a side video about it. Because there's some things that she has said that I haven't had a chance to look at. But Ian Carroll, who did her show while she was on pregnancy leave, who she really uplifted, who just kind of shot up in the obscure right side of the web. He's very conspiratorial, just like she is. He flat out like implied that it was the Jews that were behind killing Charlie Kirk. And even the comedian friend of his, Dave Smith, was like, "Where's your evidence for this?" And it's like, bro, they've been on the crazy conspiracy train for a while. But the fact, if they go that route, that would just be next level. I saw some people say Candace Owens is going to get to the bottom of all this. Candace Owens is a problem, continues to be one. And this is like really unhinged. But I just think it's because she's immoral. Someone said she did a video of him. It was well done, but she seemed to allude that Charlie was coming around to seeing her views on and about Jews. That's, I would say, not true. And there are other people who know about conversations that he's had where he was distancing himself from Candace Owens because of her views. And people even asked him, like, there's a video of him being asked about her, and he just said that people who want to blame Jews for everything are demonic. And so he didn't say the words Candace Owens is demonic, but the question was about her and people like her. I just want to look into a little bit more things before I complete my thoughts. I just kind of wanted to say I'm seeing some things. And I haven't seen a full on the Jews did this, but I think wanting to pick a fight with Bibi, when it's clear that Charlie did really love Israel and the Jewish people and talk to people who were anti-Semitic and really conspiratorial and debunk them, and rebuke them. I just, there's no way that he would be okay with all the stuff that Candace was saying, even if maybe he started to grow uncomfortable with maybe the war in Gaza stuff. I don't know, but Candace Owens is full cuckoo with the stuff. But I don't even think that's necessarily that. Some people think that after she had her baby that she's going through some kind of postpartum psychosis or something. I don't know. I can't diagnose this, but I've seen some crazy people before, and I just don't think. I think she says a lot of stuff for clicks, and I don't think she's like lost her mind. I think it's a game with a lot of ones and zeros after the ones for money and cash. So some people are saying his death is faked. Faked for what? So he could do what? Like, where would he go for the rest of his life? Leave his wife and kids and live on an island somewhere? Like, why? Why would that be faked? That's insane. That's insane. If people are saying it was faked. I know people are trying to do conspiracies like, oh, well, it's a false flag because someone is really on the right who did it, and this guy is a patsy, and they wanted to have a reason to do Civil War stuff. We're not here doing Civil War stuff. Donald Trump was asked, like, well, how do you want your people to react? He's like, Charlie believed in peace. He believed in communicating. He's like, that's what I want people to do. There is no call for Civil War. You may find some French people on the internet. There is no call. There's a call to go to church. There's a call to go pray. There's a call to read your Bible. There's a call for that. There's a call, go to vigils, pray for his family. There's a call to stand up for what you believe. There's no call for Civil War. Like, let's hit the streets. Let's burn stuff. Let's riot. For what? No, it's going to be, let's engage. Let's win some more elections. So, and people are like, oh, it was a professional. And a lot of people are like, my 12-year-old could have made that shot. The guy might even have been aiming for his head and just happened to hit the neck because he didn't calculate, how, I guess, the bullet would fall on that trajectory or whatever. I don't know, but a lot of people are saying that, no, my kid could have did that with that gun. So, anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktunes.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, you guys can support and leave a donation on the website because it does cost to stream and run my site and all that stuff. So you guys can support. I very much do appreciate it and appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the site as well if you're interested in any of that. I do also have different books that I've written. Like I have a historical fiction fantasy. Most of my books are fiction, but I do have a nonfiction book or two nonfiction books, but one of them is Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. But my other one is, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. And that covers, like we talked about, the subject of rape today, and if you're impregnated and how do you like handle those kinds of discussions. I spent a long time in the book discussing the so-called exceptions. So it's does deal a lot, obviously, with the Bible and its different ethics and why I believe that it is a totally anti-abortion book. I know it doesn't use the word abortion, but I think it's pretty obvious if you're a Christian and have certain values that are taught in the Bible that you would just be revolted by the idea of it. But it deals with like some just common across the board abortion issues and stuff too. So it's a good overall book that I encourage you guys to check it out. Someone said still holding out for audiobooks. You know what? I could record that one. I could record that one. Some of my fiction books don't, if they happen, they're not going to happen for a while because I'll probably want to have extra money to pay someone to do some of them. And sometimes I think about Super Kid. I actually did record it, but I want to re-record it and then put it out. But some of the audiobooks, like I could never probably do like The Color of God's Eyes because the main character, and it's in her perspective, and she's from Mississippi. And it's not that I don't think I could do a decent Southern accent, but if you're from that region, you'd be like, that's not how we sound in Mississippi. And I just kind of don't want that. There's this one guy on TikTok who can find where you are, pinpoint where you are. Even if you don't sound like you have an accent, he can find where you live. And it's really amazing. And I just, no, I can't use I cannot use AI. I can't do it. Too many people are against AI, and it especially in the book community. And, it just basically it wouldn't be good for my reputation. I think if people like different celebrities want to record their voices doing AI and people like pay, I don't know, like a royalty toward them or a fee to use their voice for their thing. If people want to sell their voices and stuff like that, that's fine. But people don't. like AI because it copies humans, like different artists or whatever, to achieve the sound, to achieve the art or whatever. And Amazon does offer that. Like I could like go in Amazon right now, tell it to generate my book in AI and then put it for sale. I could do that very quickly actually. But and I'm sure lots of people would buy it. But man, I just don't want that smoke. I just really don't want that smoke. And by the way, I don't think that they have the option of a Mississippi 1800s kind of accent either. So I'm not doing that. Someone said fake Southern accents crack me up. I just I used to think I had a pretty good British accent too, and then but then sometimes I'll hear British people say like how they pronounce like aluminum. I'm like, I would have never guessed that. Like I would have never guessed how you guys say certain words. So I'm like, forget it. But anyway, there's a link in the description if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube that'll take you to the Amazon page where you can check out some of the books. By the way, my sister Tina's in the chat, and Tina is the one who did the art for this cover here. She drew the hand of God reaching out to the baby. That's Tina. I just highlighted her comment. That's unrelated to the book, but I just guys wanted you to see her. I know some of you guys follow her, and she does stream. So you guys can go ahead and if you don't follow her, go ahead and follow her, and please check out her website too. She has a lot of really good art. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. A lot of sad, crazy news this week. And hopefully we'll be talking about some other stuff. And my heart just really goes out to them, his family, and be strong. Like hopefully this is a turn in the right direction. I'm not optimistic about the left, but I am optimistic about people turning to God and the revival in hearts and minds of men. So that's good. So I'm going to go to church tonight, and I'm going to enjoy church tonight. I'm going to enjoy church on Sunday, and get renewed. And I'll be back here on Monday. God bless you guys, and I will see you then.